Hello everyone, this is Quentin Ruff, and for my Project 2 research submission, I did bEngine for Unity, which is a plugin that allows you to use geometry nodes inside of Unity. And I use this to create these procedural chains and cables that allow me to change them with just a few variable changes or moving around a point on a curve. This allows for really adaptable environment design, and it just takes away the limits and allows me to do whatever. If I know I want saggy cables, I can make saggy cables and I don't need to worry about making specific ones for specific areas. I can just use geometry nodes, which is super awesome. So let's show you how to actually set this up. So to begin, you want to start by actually installing the package, and it costs about $40, but it's awesome. So I mean, it was worth it for me. I don't know if it is worth it for you. But now that you have bEngine, you are able to go to your project settings and actually set it up to be used. So you need to set a couple of paths. First, the actual Blender executable that is going to be run by bEngine when it runs your geometry nodes. And then there's a special Python folder you need to find elsewhere and get it in. If you just look up bEngine Py, you'll find it online. And then lastly is a temporary folder that bEngine can store its meshes in while it's actually running. And now that you have this, you are set up and good to go. So I'm gonna pull in a bit of art from another project that we can use to set up our background. Alright, it is demo time here, and I'm going to show you guys how to create one of these procedural chains in whatever shape that you desire. So here I have a empty prefab called the shootable chain creator, which has this bEngine curve script on it, and under that I have this spawner child, which has a bEngine component script on it. But we're going to begin up here on the parent and create a curve that our chain's going to follow. So it starts out giving us something like this, but we can actually hit Shift A and draw whatever curve we want. So let's go pretty crazy here. Out this side and then back around where we started. This is quite fun. So now we have our curve that bEngine is going to actually use, and we can see it in the gizmos like this. And on our bEngine component, we now hit server, and what this does is it actually opens an instance of Blender on your computer, which is really interesting. And it has a terminal here with a little bit of debug information. But now that we have done that, we are able to run our geometry nodes inside of Unity. So we set our blend file up here, and we set our node system's name. Under here, we can do some special stuff within our geometry nodes, which I'll show you in a minute, but just remember that these are the prefabs that we're instancing with our geometry nodes, because you can actually instance prefabs, not just geometry. So you can put scripts and components on the stuff you're using with this, which is really cool. And then we're setting the curve we're using. It can't just assume what curve you want to use, so you have to actually specify here, which is different than the way geometry nodes are used in Blender, which was kind of interesting to learn. And then for within my chain creator, I have this scale and spacing multiplier here. But we can now hit selected, and this will actually generate our chain. Boom! And we have our chain, and if we look, each of these is actually those prefabs, like I said earlier. But this chain follows our curve, it follows any rules we set within our geometry nodes, and it just goes around. And I'm sure you can imagine this can be used for a lot more than just chains. There are a lot of applications for this kind of stuff. So let me show you actually what this looks like in Blender. So inside of Blender now, let's actually take a look at this geometry node tree and how it is utilizing bEngine. So if we start over here at our group input, we can see that we have all of those same inputs that we did over in bEngine, minus the geometry, because our bEngine component has no real geometry, right? So we have to give it that curve that we create in bEngine and sample it with the object info node. And then from there we can use it like normal, and I'm doing a bit of resampling and then some tangent matching for my different instances and stuff. But this is the cool part within bEngine. But I am creating these giant 1 meter cubes and then using a store named attribute to say, hey, be this instance. And this is actually something that is special to bEngine, and we can see it in its documentation here. You can set this B instance and place down prefabs in your scene where you have that set in your geometry node. So it's not just limited to these models. So I'm doing that to place those chain links, and then I'm joining them and yada yada, putting it all together and outputting it. And that is what is actually going on when we do this inside of Unity. And let's say we want to have some big chunky chains. So I'm going to turn this way up here. And look at that. Big giant chunky chains. And all we had to do was change one button. So pretty cool. I'm very excited for the creative phase. I want to just mess with this more. I want to see if I can read in actual geometry data instead of just these bEngine curves. Like, can I actually put a mesh into this slot here and it'll read that? I'm not sure. I don't think so, but that would be really cool. So we'll see. Yeah, thank you very much.